So I am super excited to welcome to the show. I mean, you all just do not know how excited I am to welcome to the show a lady that you may have seen around. And if you haven't seen around or come in contact with her products, you will want to after this interview. Beatrice Dixon, welcome.
Thank you. Hi, how are you?
Good.
Good.
I'm so happy. I'm so happy that you can join on here. And I just have to tell you. So I was watching the Target commercial, which is now like infamous, I'm sure. I was watching the Target commercial, and I saw you come on there, and I just remember this moment of like pride, like yeah, yes, setting the way for
Thank you.
other Black girls, brown girls. So thank you for that. And it wasn't until I just happened to see you on the Breakfast Club, and I listened to that interview and the whole interview, and the attitude that you brought of like, I'm going to do me, and I'm going to use that to help serve other people was the thing that made me say, I need to get her on this show. Like, oh my,
Thank you.
I cannot believe this. So thanks for joining. Now, tell us just a little bit about why you're doing what you're doing and bringing these hygiene products to the world for women.
Well, there's such a huge white space. There was such a huge white space in that there hadn't really been a brand that spoke to kind of all the things that a woman needs just to maintain her vaginal wellness and well-being, right? Um, there hadn't been all of that under one product brand that was cost effective, that was clean, that was effective, that really served a community who really wants to just, I think for so long you know, we've we've supported brands kind of like singularly, right? Like you may have used the wash that your mom used when she told you what to do, or you may have used the pads that she said, or the tampon, whatever. But I feel like today's human really like, they're not just taking what their mommy told them. They're actually going outside of that and understanding um, kind of what they want and what they desire, and you know what's going to be best for my body. And I feel like things are a lot more vocal today than what they've ever been. And so that's really kind of the driving force behind what makes me motivated, is that I really want to serve the humans with vaginas that use our products, really clean, beautiful, effective, cost efficient products that work,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
and
love
that
that.
don't like break their bank. You know what I'm like? Our things
Right,
aren't cheap, but they're not like expensive either. You know what I mean?
right. Not like, oh
Yeah.
my gosh, let me save up to get.
Yeah, like, and that's not to say that that doesn't happen for some people, but I'm just saying for like the lot of most people, our pricing is pretty, it's pretty, um, it's comparative, it's not that far off.
Love
Yeah.
it. Now, tell me about, so when we think about your entrepreneurship journey, first off, how long have you been in this space and building up Honeypot?
Since late 2011.
Okay. So
So
I just
early
think,
in like early 2012 is when we launched the company.
okay. So I think it's important to just sort of set for folks kind of what that time scale is. Because I see all too often, and I will say that I've even been victim to it. We want the success overnight. Like you've been
Yeah.
working at it for a week and it isn't working, and like life is falling apart. Do you know what I'm saying?
Hmm. Yeah.
Do you what are your thoughts around just sort of the patience that it takes to build a successful business?
It comes with time, because it takes you a while to understand what that should even mean, where you even are, what you even want, what you don't know, and what you know that you don't know. Um, Unfortunately, patience is one of the things that you don't know in the beginning, because you're so driven, you're so like, you're so excited, like, you know,
Mhm.
you think that when you launch your website, people are just going to come, but like the real shit is like,
Been there.
nobody's going to come, and it's like, and it's like, oh shit, like nobody's here, and I remember the days that like making $100 a day was a goal.
Mm.
Making $200 a day was a goal. Then that turned into $1,000, and that turned into, it just kept growing. And now I can't even spend my time I think about that, but there's so many other things that like there's somebody else on our team now that thinks about that, you know.
Mhm.
Um, so it takes a long time. I mean, and your patience level just grows because you one thing that you start to learn is that there's so much out of your control. You know,
Yeah. Yeah,
there's so much
absolutely.
out of your control. So you just have to you really just got to roll with it. You can't,
Mhm.
like
Stay
I
the
just
course.
yeah, you got to stay the course. Um, because you know everything that that you all the shit that can happen will happen,
Mm.
right? All the
Mhm.
plans that you will make will not happen, and they will not happen the way that you planned them.
Mhm.
You end up getting unconsciously, you end up becoming patient because you just have to be.
Hmm.
There's no, like if you don't, you might have went crazy. You know what I
Mm.
mean?
Yep.
So
Yep. Yep. You have
yeah,
no other choice. So
you
take
have
me
no
back.
other choice.
Take me back, B, to when you were you were early on in the business. You were entrepreneur, just starting out, maybe still working somewhere else, doing something to bring in money. Like,
Hmm.
take me back to those days when you were like, okay, I gotta work, but I want to build this business. Like, what was life like?
It was crazy. It was like, oh, first of all, that's only been for like 2 years, maybe 2.5 years.
Hmm.
So out of all the years, I've only not been working another job for 2.5 years.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Um, I mean, there was nothing else I could do. Like, um, I'm a, at that moment, I was in a relationship where I was like the breadwinner, right?
Mhm.
And I had to, you know, I just had to do what I had to do. Plus,
Right.
my ex-husband lived in another country, so um, it wasn't like he could even be here. So I had to like take care of myself, And then my mom came and she helped. But then, we have this: I help her, she helps. We're helping each other type of thing.
Yeah.
But it was just what I had to do. There was no other choice. So it wasn't. I just did it.
Mhm.
I mean, I remember one time when we had gotten into Target, we were literally raising money to pay for inventory, and um there were like so many times that it almost like just by a hair didn't
Mhm.
happen because we
Wow.
just we didn't have the money. So we had to just like, it would always work out, but it would always work out at like the ninth hour,
Mm.
like the 9.5 hour. It wasn't even like the ninth
Mhm.
hour. It was like,
Right.
like the
A
10th
minute to
hour.
go.
It's like, yeah, like it's 9:50. Um,
Mhm.
and so so I just did. I did, and I still will, and always will just do what I have to do.
Right.
I did what I had to do.
Mhm.
And so for me, there's been no other option.
Yeah,
You know
and
what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying, and hearing you talk about that, like, even, hey, that was only 2.5 years ago or whatever. Um, I think it's so easy some days. And, I'll tell you, be coming from, I just did my 300th episode of the podcast, season one, like 300th
Mhm.
episode. And it was this daily podcast. It was 300 days. And the reality was, yep, I'm still working in corporate America. Yep, doing this podcast. Yep, trying to build a business, all this other stuff. And people would look at me like I was crazy. Like, first off, you're doing this daily. First off, you got all these kids at home. But the reality of when you know you want to get somewhere and like you're passionate and intent, you will hustle to make it happen.
Yeah, but that's my point. There's no other choice. Like,
Exactly.
for me, there is no other way.
Hmm.
Like in my mind, this thing has to work. So if it has to work, I got to give it all. I have to give it everything. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yep.
So there's no other option
Hmm.
other than to just do it. And look, people that go to work every day and just want to come home and be done by 6 o'clock, they can't understand,
Right.
right? But
That's true.
that's what makes your job that you go into that's able to pay you, right? That has
Hmm.
returns, that has that big fucking Fortune 500 corporation that you work for, or whatever the size is, right? That's what makes an us and a them. Not that there is a us and a them, but
I know
if
what you mean.
they're not, you know what I mean? Like, if they're not there to do all to like hold you down so that you can have a place, so if they're
Hmm.
not there with their CPAs and CFOs and CEOs and VPs and all that, and making these huge decisions, you, whoever it is that would say to you, I don't understand, you're crazy how you do that. Well, look, you work for somebody that does that.
That does that.
Do
Right.
you think that they're crazy? And
Hmm.
and and when you put it, if you put it to them that like that, they're like, "Oh, I didn't think about that."
Yeah. It's that
So
perspective. Everybody has their fit in this whole game of life. We play different
they
roles.
do. They do. They do. I look, um there's a like you've got children, a husband, a podcast, a business, and a job. Like,
God,
I
no more.
can't
I didn't let that go now.
I'm just saying
Hmm.
that, like, whenever you did, right, which you're fortunate to do, because does your husband still work?
My husband is an entrepreneur himself.
Okay.
So I had prepared over that year, even financially, because in my mind there was no other option.
But
Like,
that's yeah, exactly. So you did what you
mhm,
had to do. You prepared
right.
yourself. You stacked your bread. You guys got lean in your household. And yeah, so we're saying the same thing, you know.
Mhm.
I mean, when there's no other way, there's no other way. And
Yep,
that's it,
I hear you.
you know. Yeah.
So tell me, D, about that moment when you shifted, right? That 2.5 years ago, when it's like, okay, it's time for me to go all in my business. First off, what did that feel like? And then tell me about the rest.
It felt like a relief.
Hmm.
It didn't feel scary because I wouldn't leave my job unless um I wouldn't leave my job unless Honeypot could pay me what I was making on my job or better.
Mm.
So Honeypot was finally in a position to be able to do that. So I was just ready, and I just transitioned, you know.
Mhm.
And really that was it. I mean, was it scary? No, because I had been working, just waiting for that moment. But it was just really stressful. Like, I felt like I was living a double life. Like, I
Yeah.
had a job where I had a job where I traveled like 3 to 4 weeks out of the month.
Oh, shoot.
A lot of the travel was by car.
Oh, yeah.
So every now and again it was by plane. I would have to do like 3 to 4 meetings a day because I worked in sales. Like it was crazy. And we were raising money for Honeypot, and we were getting into Target, or we had already gotten into Target, but we didn't understand what supply chain was. Like we didn't know what we were doing, you know?
Mhm.
Um, there was just like so much that was going on. So I was so overwhelmed. And then I was coming off of raising money,
Mhm.
um, which is also overwhelming because you need it. So you're like desperate for it, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
So there was just like so many levels of so many things that I was dealing with. So
Yeah.
I just felt a ton of relief, you know?
Yeah, I can only imagine just kind of what your schedule looked like at that time. Just hearing what
It
you're
was
saying,
crazy.
it oof,
It was
really,
crazy.
I'm sure relief, freedom, everything.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, freedom is a thing though, you know. I mean, I live in freedom no matter what because I feel like that's a state of
Mm.
mind, but also, um, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no. One of the things that I talk a lot about is freedom.
Mhm.
And I've talked about it's interesting that you talk about it as a state of mind, though, because I want to hear what's in your head. But I have associated freedom, especially over the past year or so, with being able to choose how I spend my time and what I do. And because I had been on this journey, right, to really work for myself and not work for anybody else. And, be able to go, well, these days the kids are at home with everybody, but being able to go to a school, right, to a lunch with my kids and not have to say, no, because I got to go do some meeting at the 9 to 5, or,
Mhm.
be able to bring some new idea to life very freely and not be burdened. So I've thought a lot about it in terms of time. But I would love to hear your perspective, though, from the state of mind.
Um, I just feel like yes, like there's nothing like owning all of your time. I look forward to the day that I own every ounce of my time.
Mm,
Um, but at the same time, even if I was doing something that I didn't necessarily want to do, which I'm not, I'm doing what I want. I live pretty well. Not necessarily that's and when I say I live well, the first people thing that people think about is money. For me, that's not living well. For me, living well is being happy, being healthy, being
mhm,
vibrant, and being able to be here right now. That
mhm.
for me, that's what living well is.
Love it.
Um, but I also understand that if the goal is owning all of my time, then I'm still in freedom making a conscious decision to do the thing that's going to get me to the place that helps me to own all my time, right?
Mm,
So I'm
mhm,
still free, even though I have to, work all day,
mhm,
do podcasts, raise money, deal with manufacturing things, you know, help organize the team, all that shit. Um,
mhm,
because if done properly, that's going to be the thing that gets me there. But
mhm,
I have to have freedom in my mind, and I have to have health and happiness and all those things in my mind first, because what happens once you get the thing that you've always been chasing?
hmm.
The grass isn't greener.
Mhm.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I
The
know
shit,
exactly
the
what you're
shit, the
saying.
shit, the shit is the same color on both sides. So you have to have a certain place of freedom that you're constantly living in, no matter what the
Mhm,
circumstances are. Freedom is yours always, infinitely. Um,
mhm,
to be your most authentic self, to love yourself, to be kind. I mean, there's men in prison that will say, like, in my mind, I'm free,
I'm free.
but like
Yeah, you're right.
they're in a fucking box, you know.
Mhm.
And so it's like, if that human can say that, then me out here living my life doing what I want, even if I have a job that I hate, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, you have to figure out how to get free under any circumstance.
No, I do. I do love that. It's a matter of taking a reflection and stance wherever you are to say, okay,
Wherever
what
you
does
are.
freedom look like for me, given
Yeah.
what's happening? I do love that.
Because it has to be infinite. It can't be based on one thing. You're because what all that's going to happen is you're going to get that one thing, and then you're making up what a new thing is that
That's
freedom looks
true.
like. And freedom isn't based on money. You understand
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Money
Yep.
is just the mechanism that our society put in place for us to buy shit. But
Mhm.
that is not, for a lot of humans, that's an object of freedom. Yes, it can
Mhm.
buy you things. Yes, it can make it so that you can live easier.
Mhm.
But money isn't freedom, though.
No.
That's some that, and this is just my opinion.
No,
Freedom
I
is
agree.
freedom. Yeah, yeah,
That one 1,000% because you've got
yeah.
people with tons and tons of money who feel imprisoned today or killing themselves
Who
or
who are
all.
who live in the prison of their mind. You
Mhm.
know.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So tell me, B, if there was one word that just describes you, what word would it be?
Mm. Gratitude.
Mm. Okay. So tell me more. Is that something that you practice all the time?
Yeah, absolutely. It's like a religion to me. You know.
Mm. Mhm.
Um, I'm just grateful, man. I'm grateful for talking to you right now. I'm grateful
Mhm.
that I got to get off of this and handle some shit that I really don't, in my first mind's eye, don't really want to have to handle, but I got to,
Mm. Mhm.
but I get to, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Um, I'm grateful that I've got people that are around me that love me. I'm grateful that my mommy is still here, even if she wasn't, that she'd still be. I'm just grateful for like
Mhm.
everything,
Yeah.
for this air that I'm breathing, for the fact that my landlord is outside cleaning my fucking
Mhm.
driveway. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, he doesn't have to be doing that, but he is. Yeah. I mean, that's a constant place that I live
The when you said the thing you had to go deal with, that you get to go deal with it. I was just in a conversation, like this conversation with leaders, and we were talking about adaptability, and somebody brought up the point of changing your language.
in.
And, there's a lot of things that we have to do, but changing them to be, oh, I get to do these things. Like
Hmm.
to realize, like, oh my gosh, like I'm in a state of being able to do this thing. I could not be able to have to handle this problem that, yeah, maybe I don't want to, but
Right.
thankful that it exists for me. So
Yeah.
it just,
Exactly.
that just popped into my mind. So
Yeah.
tell me,
For real.
are there two, not two things, three things? What would be your top three either must do's or pieces of advice that you would give to an entrepreneur that's trying to build their business and get it off the ground?
Um, First off, if you have something in your mind, start. Just first thing that you do to make a business valid is go to your Secretary of State office and file letters, basically like articles of incorporation.
Mhm.
Make it legit, right? Even if that doesn't mean anything more than that. Um, Whatever it is that you do, make sure you do it really, really well, and make sure that you do it so well and you like it so much that you'd be willing to give it away for free.
Mm.
In the very beginning, don't be afraid to give it away for free,
Mm.
because that can breed loyalty in people.
Mhm.
I don't necessarily believe in over discounting anything, but I believe that when you're first starting a business, you have to practice whatever the thing is that you're starting, especially if this is your first time ever being in business. Um,
Mhm.
and don't quit your job. Don't do
Mhm.
that. Don't honestly, I don't recommend quitting your job unless, especially if you're a single person, um,
Mhm.
until your business can pay you and pay another person. Because it's really hard to run a business all on your own. You got to really have an employee. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So,
Mhm. And
yeah.
that's an interesting point because not a lot of people talk about. You'll hear a lot about, hey, don't quit until it pays you. And there's a lot of different ways people go about it, but don't quit until it pays you. But this is the first time I've heard somebody say, don't quit until it not only pays you, but you can pay another person.
Yeah, because if it's essential, you need another human to help you. And if you can, you want that human to have an expertise or knowledge in what it is that you do. And another thing to keep in mind, if you have people that come with you for the ride and they're willing to do anything for you all the way down to work for free,
Mhm.
especially in the beginning, and that's a consistent that's like a constant for a year, for 2 years, for 3 years, and they're just here with it and they're not questioning you. You need to
Mhm.
make that person like a co-founder, you know.
Mm. So that's interesting.
Hmm.
Like that's very interesting. So if there is, what I'm hearing you say is there's somebody who's like, hey, I'm down, I understand, the business is new, there's a little bit of cash, maybe all that's going back into the business. You suggest, hey, they've been down for the ride, make them a
I
co-founder.
mean, if they're really down for the ride,
Mm-hmm.
if if they're like up with you at night and shipping boxes and making products and really going in,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, what would you want if you were that person?
Yeah,
I'm
that's
all
true.
I'm trying to say is don't be greedy, man. Cause
Mm-hmm.
like really real shit, your equity doesn't fucking mean a thing until you're gonna sell the company or if you're gonna make your company go public. Equity doesn't mean shit until you're gonna do
Mm-hmm.
that. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's voting rights, sure. It's making decisions. Got that. But unless you're building some business that you don't want to be a small business one day, and anything under 90 million is a small business, by the way, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Unless you're trying to make this thing grow out of control and scale it ridiculously, your
Mm-hmm.
equity don't mean shit but decisions. Honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly.
Yeah. That's a fair point. It generally is one that I haven't thought about. Is I think there are so many, not all, right, but there are so many who are kind of like, nah, this is mine. Like, I
Yeah,
found it.
and that's not to say that it's not yours. But if
Mhm,
somebody is working day and night and they're giving their time and their life and their energy for a thing that you for your dream, the least that you could do is say to them, I see your hustle and I see what you're doing. And they're doing it and they're doing it well and they're not asking you no questions. You
mhm.
understand what I'm saying?
Yep. Yep.
There's so many of us just want to be like, oh, this is mine, this is mine, this is mine. But it's like, yeah, it's yours, but it's nothing wrong with giving somebody a little piece of something so that they feel like it's theirs too.
Yeah.
Somebody
Yeah.
feels like something is theirs, they're gonna do everything.
That's
You
true.
know, the way my brother runs our business as a CFO, every penny is like it's his fucking money.
Mm. Hmm. They're
So
bringing their whole self to it.
he brings his
Seriously.
whole everybody here brings their whole everything. But when it comes to the bread in this company, it's like, bro, everything needs to be accounted for. What was that? Where did that go to? And that's just him doing his job. Don't make me wrong.
Mhm.
But it's like,
Right.
when you got somebody on the squad like that,
Mhm.
you don't
Yeah.
you don't
You
be on some like, you understand what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying. You do the right thing.
Do the right
Mm.
thing. Do the
Mhm.
right thing.
So
Yeah.
let me ask you this. Let me ask you this question because since you mentioned your brother, so a quick time check. Since you mentioned your brother, what are your thoughts on family business and business with family?
I think as long as it works, it doesn't matter who your business is with.
Hmm. Yeah, that's a good point.
You want
You
you
know, I
want people to be you want people to be engaged, and you need people to feel like this is theirs. Not
mhm.
even feel like it should be. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Um
yeah.
and when you've got family that's serious and focused and intelligent and skill sets and all that kind of stuff, like for
Hmm.
me, if I'm gonna give somebody the job, I'm gonna give it to them, and then if they fuck up, then I'll go elsewhere, you know. But
Hmm.
and don't make me wrong, we can't hire like that now. But in the beginning, that's, you just, what do you, I mean, it's not
Right.
like you have big pickings. It's not like you can pay a industry rate salary. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm. Hmm.
So,
Right. Right. You got to do what you can do.
hmm
So, what is the last thing? So, as we close out here, looking forward for you,
hmm
what is the one thing that you are most excited about in your future?
um, in my personal future or in Honeypot's future?
It can be either one or both.
With Honeypot, we've seen a lot of growth happen in the last couple of months. So I'm excited to be on that journey. I'm excited. This has always been a goal of mine to be like this household name, um, with Honeypot that's as synonymous as always in Tampax, and that can literally sit on the shelves next to these brands and like sit there with pride. You know,
Mhm. Right.
um, it feels like that's the place that we live, and so I'm excited to give that the respect that it deserves,
Mhm.
and to you know build the team that can support that, and to because we're still a very small company, but
Mhm.
but things are moving, so I'm excited for that. I'm excited to build a really lean, efficient business model, that maybe one day will be profitable, right?
Mhm. Hey, hey, that's
And
Nirvana.
go through, and go through to the next levels of strategic, um having a strategic, acquisition. But personally,
Mhm.
you know um I'm just excited. I've created new habits for myself with working out like every day almost, and I actually enjoy it and actually like want to do it, um
Nice.
and cooking every meal and things like that, and eating really well.
Wait,
um
that's not tiring you out, like cooking every meal? That's not
I actually
okay,
like
'cause
it.
I'm suffering.
Yeah, but yeah, no, I quite enjoy it, so that's been good, and that it's kind of shown me how I want to live and how I want to eat. I want to eat like my own food. I don't want to like I want to like go out to the backyard and like pick my vegetables, and and like,
Yeah.
um so I look forward to building that goal, personally, just so that I can maintain my health and wellness for as long as I
Mhm.
can, till it's over.
Awesome. I love it, I love it. Well, I gotta tell you, first off, I am gonna do my part to support you. In fact,
Thank you.
on my next run, I'm gonna make sure all the stuff that I get from now on, because I really do believe in supporting, um, is going to be the Honeypot products, all my feminine hygiene products
Thank you.
in the next run. Yeah, for sure.
Thank you.
But I am so happy to have this conversation with you, B. I have learned a lot, even just in our time together. And the inspiration that I got from you with that interview, the Breakfast Club, with the Breakfast Club interview, that inspiration is only deepened in having my conversation with you here today. So I want to thank you
Thank you.
so much for taking the time to join.
No, thank you for having me. I
Mm.
appreciate
And
you.
now people can go and get Honey Pot products, of course, at Target. Are there other
Yes.
places they can go?
Yes, we're still in Target, Walmart, Walgreens. We're going into Kroger nationwide. Kroger is called different things in different places. We're in Wegmans. You can pretty much go to the honeypot.co, go to our store locator, put in your zip code, and it will tell you the places that we are in within that zip code, within that area. You can also obviously find us at the Honeypot Co. You can find me at I am B Dixon, Beadixon. Um, yeah.
Awesome. Well, listeners and watchers, I hope you take everything that you have heard from B, you take it and you take some action because there's a ton of gold in what she said today. So take some action.
Thank you.
I hope that you all have a great day, a great evening, whenever you're listening or watching. And I'll talk to you again very, very soon.